IMHO Talk Show. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for joining us. Could be anywhere in the world, but you're here with us, and we appreciate you. And we are here with some of our favorites, Charlotte and Elliot of CVILLE Tomorrow, our partners in crime, organized crime. Can we call it that? Legal?
I guess you can.
Legal hustle?
I'm not answering that.
No. Anyway. Elliot.
What do you think, Elliot? Is this organized crime?
It depends on who you're talking to.
and Charlotte, how are you doing today, miss?
Good. Just enjoying a Sunday before getting back to work tomorrow.
There you go.
Yeah.
And I know, and so we brought you here because you guys are doing some impeccable election coverage, as you always do. Great work. For those who may be new to this thing, Elliot is the chief editor at CVILLE Tomorrow. Charlotte is one of the lead reporters, and she is tasked with the with the undertaking of covering the election. And Charlotte, so I know since September 18th, you must have been quite busy. So, kind of bring us up to speed on what's been happening, in regards to this upcoming election.
There's so many different ways to vote this year, and we definitely saw a surge. There were reports making national news of how many people in Virginia were showing up at the polls on September 18th. Being a pandemic year, being so many ways to vote, and then the uncertainty of USPS with comments made by Trump over the summer. I think, people are realizing, okay, well, we have to get this done, whatever method we choose. Our state legislative body passed some bills that will allow ballot drop-off boxes. So if you request your ballot by mail, you can, but you want that physical ability of, okay, I don't want to go into the polls, but I really want to make sure that I see it go in somewhere. You can still take it and drop it off.
And USPS being United States Postal Service, right?
Sorry, I should have spelled that out.
No. That's that we all family here. We got you.
Yeah, got your back. Yeah, and now for those who want to go in person and vote early, let's break that down for them as well, because you can contact your local registrar's office in wherever district you're in, and that's where you go. Is that correct? If you want to vote in person early?
Yes, until October 31st, just check your local registrar's hours. I don't have them off the top of my head, but they are in one of my articles on the voter guide. They're allowing social distance. They're making time and space for social distancing. We have some photos from the first day of voting, hand sanitizers everywhere. They wipe down ballot booths in between each person going to vote. And it's a way to, that's an option that you have. I'm planning on voting in person. I don't know if I'm actually going there or I'm requesting by mail and dropping off, but those are two of my options, but there are other.
Yeah, likewise, y'all. I want to see that.
Oh yeah, I'm going.
The normal way of having that voting booth and making sure that I scan it in and not taking anything for chance. But Charlotte, has there been any early on reports on any disenfranchisement of in that regard?
Not necessarily here locally, but I will try to keep my eye on it.
Thank you. Yeah, and so this election day coming up, y'all. I know we covered that last time as well, but so it sounds like everybody has a consensus here. Everybody's going to be in person. We don't have any mail-ins, Elliot, Max?
Yeah,
Nope, not for me.
I got mine in the mail. I dropped it off that same day.
There you go.
Man, I know people who steal stuff out people's mailboxes and whatnot. I know I ain't trusting the mail service.
Yeah. And so, one thing that we're going to dig deeper into today as well, family, is the importance of the vote and us being well educated on it, because with these atrocities that's going on, we have to be knowledgeable and place blame correctly. We have to be logical as much, if not more, than we are emotional about things, because a lot of times the big flashy election, we heard Obama, first black president. We see Trump and how he is so polarizing, and we get excited about those elections. Fact of the matter is, though, there's other things on the ballots and there's other election terms that are even more important.
They're more important than the presidential race.
Yeah. So Charlotte, so what all do we have on our ballot here this year in Charlottesville?
I love focusing on Congress. It is my favorite branch of government. And General Assembly. This year, we have the 5th Congressional District, which is what we are in for our House representatives. We have Cameron Webb and Bob Good are those candidates. And then statewide, there's Senate. So either re-elect Mark Warner or there's a Republican challenger named Daniel Gade. And then there's a write-in candidate named Almina. And so, yeah, those are 5 people you can choose from for your House and your Senate. And Senate is very important, as we all know, with Ruth Bader Ginsburg passing away recently. Senate confirms whoever the president, in this case, Donald Trump, or if they wait, possibly Joe Biden, whoever they nominate, then Senate is who confirms. So it's very crucial.
That's right. That's right. Did y'all catch that though?
Hey, sure.
Did y'all catch that? Like, who they, like who gets nominated, they confirm. So that's why we got to remember that people that we put in positions, are the ones that are going to be calling these shots. So, we're going to dig into it more later, but the DAs, right? Your state DAs,
Commonwealth attorneys.
Yeah, all that kind of stuff, man. And the DA, black man, right? So I bet some people are like, oh, let's get a brother in office. But, Razor mentioned that quote a little earlier. Like every skin folk ain't
kinfolk.
So it's like, and I understand, the population in a place like Kentucky where, they usually vote red, like that's a Republican state. But it's like folks got to be educated on it and realize that man that you put in place, the way that he judged this Breonna Taylor case is what should be expected.
Yeah.
Because that's who you had in office.
Yeah, absolutely. You know what I'm saying? And don't pay attention to what they tell you 2 months before election. Go back and check their track record, whoever it is, regardless of what color they are, regardless of what they seem to stand for. Because you have a lot of independents that take up the Republican threshold. You have people who sided with Republicans that take up Democratic. I mean, you have all different type of things where people just try to find their little piece of the pie. So
actually, I have a question for Charlotte. I'm not sure if she was aware of. I'm pretty sure she was aware of this, but there was in Pennsylvania, there was a Green Party candidate that the Democrats successfully were able to remove that person from the ballot, and many people are screaming that is a form of Democratic voter suppression. Because obviously what happened in 2016, what people remember is that a lot of those third-party independent votes in certain states, if those people were not possibly voting for Hillary Clinton, if they voted Green Party. So it's just that transition. So I wasn't sure if Charlotte had any comments on that or if she saw that story in the news this week.
I actually hadn't. I've been so tuned into local. I need to go look that up, and I love to read, so I'm going to do some later today.
Yeah. What do you guys? I guess I'll ask you guys. I mean, even Elliot can chime in.
Let Elliot go first.
Because sometimes voter suppression, I think incorrectly, is always attributed to Republicans. But I believe that, let's be real, I believe it's always attributed to the Republican Party. But this was very, very interesting that the Democrats were able to successfully remove a promising third-party candidate. Do you guys consider that voter suppression?
Elliot?
On what basis?
Rules that they make up. I'm being
with their vision?
Just because we say so.
Elliot, what do you think?
Yeah, I think you coming back to Virginia, it's like whoever the party is in power, they want to keep that power. So they're going to do anything to stop anyone from taking that away from them. And that's, I don't know exactly, I haven't been following that closely of what the makeup is in Pennsylvania right now. But if you look at just the arguments around one of the things on our ballot about redistricting for the General Assembly and for Congress here is that the Democrats are in power and now they don't want this amendment to pass. And if you go back a few years, they were the ones saying that we needed this amendment to go through.
I will have a follow-up that goes into detail on that amendment. There's a lot of layers to it, and I've had to basically become an expert in a little bit of law the other day, about 12 hours of research and interviews, but I will have a follow-up that dives into that. But it is very important, this constitutional amendment that is on the ballots this year. General Assembly has fought over this and warred with each other for almost 20 years to get it to this point. And now it's in our hands to decide if we like this independent commission that will draw our districts, or if we want to push pause let the Democrats draw the maps for the next 10 years and then try again later. So I'm going to be going into details of that, but it's important. It's just as important as the candidates that you get to choose.
Yeah. Hey, hold up, y'all. Hold on, Aaron. I just caught a feeling just now. For anybody that's no, this is serious. For anybody that's listening that tuned into us because you want to laugh, you want us to joke, you want to hear some good music, you need to understand that if these things are not put in place properly, there will be no one-on-one jams or, in my humble opinion, on this airway to talk to you. So we're trying to educate you. So please check your emotions, whoever you may be, and understand that this is vitally important for us to be able to do what we're doing right now.
That's right, brother. And for those that may
Hey, Charlotte, about that fifth.
Go ahead, Miss Mack.
About that 5th district seat in Congress, are you following the stats on that at all? And I know you got to take that with a grain of salt, but do we have like a clear underdog? Does anyone seem favorable? Do you got any information on that?
It is very tight. The 5th district has mostly been a Republican stronghold seat for a very long time. It has flipped, like when Democrat Tom Perriello had it a few years ago. Recent polling has shown that it is now a toss-up. Polling is, it's subject to sample size of what you're polling, essentially. So take it with a grain of salt, as Max is saying. But it definitely, just even a few weeks ago, I drove down to North Carolina to visit family, and just driving and just seeing the clusters of Cameron Webb and Bob Good, Trump and Biden posters around the district, it really speaks to how, it's a huge district to begin with, but how much of a toss-up it is. So right now, recent polling has shown Cameron right a point between him and Bob Good. Yeah,
and I was concerned about that at first, y'all, because like the Trump, the what do you call them, the Trumpers, the trumpeters, whatever they are. They
Trumpeteers.
Yeah, trumpeters. Like they were on it early. Like I don't know if y'all remember, but all you saw were Trump signs. But now that may have shifted a little bit.
I met a neighbor the other day just going on a walk who plans to vote for Donald Trump for president, but he wants to vote for Cameron Webb for Congress.
There you go. Ain't nothing wrong with that.
And that's somebody who really is looking at the issues.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? I'm not saying he's voting right or wrong. Yeah. I'm just saying he's taking the time to see what politician aligns with his views. And that's all we've been asking everybody to do. That's think for yourself. Don't think what you've been trained.
That's right.
Take time to think for yourself.
Yeah. And family, if you just joined us, we are joined by Charlotte and Elliot of CVILLE Tomorrow, Charlottesville Tomorrow. What's the official name? Because we always,
Charlottesville Tomorrow.
Charlottesville Tomorrow is the full
AKA
title.
CT.
Yeah, CT. Hey, so the provisional ballots, Charlotte, I noticed that you had a great article. What's some things that you can leave with our listeners in regards to the validity of early voting, just checking the accuracy of the ballots and whatnot? And I do want to plug CVILLEtomorrow.org, y'all, election coverage. CVILLEtomorrow.org if you want to follow this great work that Charlotte and Elliot are doing. But Charlotte, what are the main points of, particularly the elderly, right? They usually the ones that get the telemarketer scams and the mail scams and all that kind of stuff. So what's the points of accuracy to check?
Yeah, provisional ballots, obviously registrars were saying that is an option if it is the only option, but try to avoid it if you can because it does take longer. It's more work for the registrars to verify. It's more work for you to provide all the identification, to verify that you are who you say you are and ensure that your vote gets counted. There is a bit more margin of error if you use a provisional ballot, but usually you shouldn't have to use one. But there was a sign at the Albemarle County Registrar building saying if you requested your ballot by mail, but you show up to early in-person vote, you would have to use provisional. So that's why if you do request your ballot by mail and you still want to take it there, use the drop-off box or schedule a time to go in and hand it to your registrar and you can see them put it through the scanning machine. But if you request it by mail and you show up and you don't use your mail-in ballot to drop it off, then they're going to have to give you a provisional ballot if you want to do it that way. And it's just try to avoid it.
Thank you for that. Ms. Max, will you say we take a quick break and come right back? And I want to get Elliot to chime in a little bit more as well, just on this current political climate and ways that we can cover this thing and talk about how important this election season is to the editorial staff at Charlottesville Tomorrow.
Sounds good.
IMHO Talk Show family, we still here, still standing, and we are Sir Charles, Miss Max, Razor, Ron, and our friends at CVILLE Tomorrow, Elliot and Charlotte. So let's jump right back in it, y'all. Charlotte, there you mentioned that there's a constitutional amendment on this year's ballot. Give us a little more depth into why that's on this year and the importance of it.
So currently, the state of Virginia, the legislative body draws its own maps. Seems like quite a conflict of interest. And so in the past, you can look up voting data, and you could basically every 10 years when census data comes in, and you can see the track record of the census data on what households vote which way, you can draw a line to keep district someone in or out to favor your party, and a lot of times that disenfranchises a lot of votes, and it doesn't allow democracy to work the way that your representatives are supposed to represent you. So for years, advocacy groups have been pushing for redistricting reform. And now there's a proposal that we all get to vote for or against that would create a bipartisan redistricting commission composed of 8 legislators from both parties and 8 citizen appointees. And some people are saying this is a great compromise. This is a good step. It's not perfect, but it's better than we've had so far. And some people are saying it's not good enough. We don't have to vote for it just yet. There's also the note that Democrats have the majority finally for the last year it started. They have not had the majority in both chambers for a while. And so it's also, there's the added component of, well, Democrats are in power. They want to draw their maps this next year for the next decade because Republicans drew it before. It makes sense. So it's a little bit of politicking, partisanship, and it's a little bit of like, why settle for something we don't think is good enough just yet? And then there's a lot of people saying, this is better than we're going to get for a while, so let's go.
And why do they view it as not good enough? What are the problems with it?
The original proposals for the commission did not have legislators on the commission at all. So people say, yes, they're not the full commission, but why should they even be on there? Some people say that that's still giving the General Assembly too much power over its own districts. Though I will note that any map that the Redistricting Commission, if passed, creates has to be voted 6 out of 8 legislators and 6 out of 8 citizen appointees before it can be voted into law. So they're trying to have checks and balances.
Yeah. So so the hope is that balances out, right? The partisanship. Right.
Yes.
Yeah, because
the
one thing I'm hearing though is that let's say that they are running the House and Senate and everything, then they still would have an upper hand, right? Like you would then have to offset that with the civilian representation. Am I understanding that correctly, or would whether they control the House and would not have no bearing on it? Like it would always try to make it balance.
Yeah, the Redistricting Commission, the goal is that it's going to be bipartisan or less partisan. And once they create a map, the General Assembly can up or down vote it, meaning like they don't get to amend the map that gets presented to them. They can decide that becomes the map, or they can say no, and then it would go to the Supreme Court to draw it, which is the case already if General Assembly can't reach consensus. But usually it reaches consensus. Yeah. I think another critique or concern that opponents of the amendment are having is that Delegate Price and Senator McClellan both passed identical versions in the House and Senate this year that outlaws gerrymandering, and it provides criteria for future map drawing, which is a good thing, and it'll affect the commission if it passes. It'll also be applicable to General Assembly if they're still drawing the maps next year. But because it's not in the state constitution, it's not protected. Like someone could overturn it. The legislative body in the future could overturn it. So they want to get it into state constitution as well because it's a bit more cemented that way.
There you go. And Razor, that is why Giles recommended the brother that we may have on soon, who does a lot of work in the 5th District. Because for those who may be hearing this and maybe going over some people's heads not understanding, Charlotte, can you give the folks an idea of the spectrum, the span of the 5th District? You know what I mean? Like as far as like the north end to the south end.
Yeah, it touches the North Carolina border. It goes all the way down to Danville, and it almost touches the Maryland border at the top. It stops near like Fauquier County. It is sprawling. It is the bottom half of it is very wide, and it gets a little bit more narrow towards the top. But I think it looks like a dragon. It's shaped like a dragon to me. It's huge, and it's the hardest I think to represent in Congress.
Right.
So whether Bob Good gets it or Cameron Webb gets it, it's not going to be easy for either of them. Yeah.
And if I'm not mistaken, again, folks, this is important because that was pretty recently redistricted, and it garnered more rural areas, if I'm not mistaken. Like the last time that the lines were redrawn, it added more rural areas to the fifth district. In my opinion, my humble opinion, you know why that was.
Yep, we don't own land.
You gotta get.
We live in the rural area.
Right. Like, hey, like Charlottesville, the blue dot in the south is a little too powerful, amongst others. We gotta sort of like add more other folks into this district. That's how I saw the lines. So, but y'all can Google it and compare the previous and the current one for yourself. Tell me what you think. But Aaron, like going, and whether it's Culpeper, Green, or what have you, like the issues in each county vary so much. It's so different, and that's why it's so important for us, to have advocates at that local level on up. We can't just look at just the top tier.
100%. I think everybody's been kind of just saying the same thing, but you got to be educated. You got to read more than World Star or the Shade Room. You got to even pick up a newspaper and listen to broadcasts. I mean, the internet, and I repeat this all the time, is that it's changed the game because you have so much more access to information to where if you're not educated, it has nothing to do with the medium. It has everything to do with you.
Okay, now let me ask y'all this. And Max, I would prefer that you answer first. If we get Trump, if Trump isn't reelected, right? Then what? Wait a minute, hold on. If Bob Good or Cameron goes in, then what? See, I believe that we're too short-sighted as a community. We get up in arms about what's tangible, but then we don't look at the big picture. We can't see the forest for the trees all the time. So I think that while we have people advocating for how they want you to vote, we also need people educating, okay, what is it that you want for your community? And then find the people that are already doing that work, put them in positions of power that could potentially help you, so that when the next elections come up, you have people that you can move up. Like it's a step process. But Max, you're married now, but as a one-time single mother, not really, all y'all really focus on, in my humble opinion, is the kids, right? So, but what about the kids matters to a single mom beyond feeding, clothing them, and making sure that they come home safe?
I don't know, Razor. What do you think?
I ain't been a woman. I ain't been a single woman. But no, I'm just saying, do you understand what I'm saying? Yeah, these women, these single moms look for the best opportunities for their children. And I believe that a lot of times, too often, certain people in positions of power are looking for the TV time that you're looking at them. So they say something important to you at that time, but they're not really giving you anything tangible that's going to outlast that election.
Right.
Policy proposals.
Yes.
Yeah.
Say it again.
Yeah, I'll be honest.
Oh, go ahead, Max.
No, go. Charlotte said something. Go ahead.
Yeah, we didn't hear you, Charlotte. What'd you say?
Oh, I was saying policy proposals. Just ask your candidates, pay attention to what they're telling you, and ask them, like, what are you going to do, or what do you want to change? Instead of just saying this needs fixed, tell me how you're going to do it.
Yep.
That's right. That's the bottom line.
Yep. Stop promising to give it to me after you get elected.
Yeah, that's a hard question to answer for me, because I think about how many decisions our president makes, or our Senate makes, Congress makes, that directly impacts me. So, you know what I'm saying?
That's important, yeah.
Like sometimes their decisions don't necessarily touch me. Like I'm just out here trying to do what I can to make sure that me and my family thrive. But a lot of times we had this conversation earlier this week via email. A lot of times their decisions, all the way down to local government, touches the poor or the affluent. And so that's a difficult question for me to answer, Razor, because I don't know how many decisions they make that affect me.
Yeah,
that's actually a good answer. You know what I'm saying? Because
yeah.
she's not the only one that's going to feel like that.
Well, I would even say that, Max, I think to answer your questions is that's the problem. The lack of them even making decisions that affect you is also a problem.
There's
as well.
no real communication when it comes to that.
But they also try to woo us to sleep too. Like backdoor deals, while on the surface it's like, oh, don't worry about it. Like, you don't have to be concerned about that.
They don't even got to do that.
You know?
They throw a little concert, have us dance out there on the stage, and say, "Yay, let me get you. Let me come up in your Baptist churches." And, I'm sorry. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Hold on.
No, I'm sorry. I was getting ready to go. I'm sorry.
So I wanted Charlotte to give one breakdown that she told us when we were off air, but I don't think we've mentioned it on air. With the legislation that Ms. McClellan has proposed to prevent gerrymandering, you kind of gave us a breakdown of what it wouldn't allow. And one of those things, which kind of blew me, was that it wouldn't allow them to count the people in prison as part of the population for an area.
Yes. So McClellan in the Senate and Price in the House, and it is state law now. Because it passed through General Assembly. So when the next district maps are drawn in 2021, it provides the criteria that stops different forms of gerrymandering. And when I was speaking with a lawyer about, she mentioned prison gerrymandering, and I asked her, what is that? She said, that is when census data reflects, say somebody's incarcerated and they're in the, Charlottesville Albemarle Regional Jail or prison. We'll find what's the closest prison we have? Someone's incarcerated in a place that they don't usually live in. And so they're being counted as in the census data of living there, but they can't vote there because they're incarcerated. And that may not be where they have their rights restored when they get out. They might go to a different county and that's where they live and restored. So,
Yeah.
But isn't that astonishing though? They throw them in prison. You take their voting rights, but then you count them as part of the census. So that, I don't know, maybe I'm the only one that feels like that's just another level of being, of being devious here.
Hey,
Deceptive. Yeah, you said it right.
It wasn't designed for us, Max.
Jim
Remember
Crow
that?
has many arms.
Hey, but Elliot,
Crazy.
Yeah, okay, it's like, once again, it's like you who normally the majority of the people wind up incarcerated, so you don't allow them to vote, but then you count them when you get your elected officials.
what's that, 13th
And
Amendment?
that's something that this country's been
Legislators.
doing for years and years and years.
Yep.
Elliot
Once it was
scared
a
me.
part of
I
the
forgot all about him. I was going to say, is
Came in.
that you, God?
Cut through.
Crazy.
Hey, and Elliot, before we go to, I wanted you to chime in, man. Like, why is this election so important to you? Like, when you're seeing these great, this great work that Charlotte and others are doing, like, what's your focus right now in that newsroom with all this going on?
With me, it's like the elections are important, and that's for a while. It's like we get a bit complacent, or we tend to think it's like it doesn't matter what I say, they're going to do what they want to do. But the years of saying that, it's like, well, now we reached this point where that they did that because they figured people just aren't paying attention anymore, so I can't just do whatever I want to do. And with like so much upheaval we've had in this year alone, it's like it's critical. It's like if we're going to say we're not going to take this anymore, we have to go out and do something about it. And we have this, unfortunately, because of the pandemic, we have this luxury of having a long period of time to vote. We don't have to take off work and stand in line for a while.
right.
We can fill out this form and just
That's a
turn it
blessing in
It's like,
disguise.
this is just one time. It's like, make yourself heard. Let them know if you don't like them. You can get all your friends out there. You can finally vote them out. Because
Fire up the bus
usually-
reason.
Yeah.
usually
Put them on
just
back to
such a
truck
small
like the
number
old
of people
days.
vote.
That's right. Hey, and Elliot, and everybody, did y'all know over in Fluvanna yesterday they had something called God, Guns, and a Good Time?
I'm
I
assuming
ain't even
they had a
joking. I
good
wish
time.
I was joking, Max.
Is that something like the church having a WAP service, worship and praise?
Lord. I think so, Ms. Max. Hit it right on the head. Hey, but seriously, so the Republican Party, they had your boy, Good out there, and it was called God, Guns, and a Good Time. And if the title isn't good enough for y'all, and Elliot, I'm curious if you're gonna cover this, my brother, but they had a gun giveaway. So, some folks want to do free meals to folks that need
Nino
it.
gave away a turkey.
And all that, yeah, even Nino gave turkeys, but
Yep.
they had a gun giveaway. So Folks, y'all
But I
better
mean,
wake up. Y'all better know what's
If
important.
you look at the gun makers, like
At
they
the
make
church.
AR-15s that have Trump engraved into the side of them. You know, like I mean,
Oh, yeah,
so
that was wild.
they have figured out a way to kind of spread. Now, anybody that is a law-abiding citizen can go purchase a gun. Understand that, but the way that it seems that the Republican Party, and I'm not saying Democrats don't do it, but the Republican Party is doing is finding an additional way to be able to spread the Second Amendment and get you behind it, just in case things don't go their way.
That's right.
That's what it seems like.
Charles, was there a counter protest by Christians out there that are saying, "Why are you associating God and guns?"
But they are Christians.
I'm
If you
just
listen
asking.
to
I'm
them-
just asking a question.
It wasn't.
There wasn't
They
a
are-
counter
you're
protest.
right.
I'm just because they should be out there. They should be more than Black Lives Matter. Because they do
that's
mention this
still
Christ
right,
guy, and I don't remember that Christ dude talking about an M16. But I could be wrong about that.
I don't know what
I'm
Bible
just
you
saying.
read.
He flipped the table.
Go ahead,
he
Max.
didn't load a clip. I'm just saying. But I could be wrong.
No, I was just gonna say what you said, Razor, about they are Christians is exactly right. And what this is very reminiscent of is how slave owners perverted Christianity to control and manipulate their slaves into being obedient. Servants obey your masters, and that punishment was godly, so to speak, if you weren't, I don't know, being obedient or what have you.
Or as they
And
say in
so,
2020, if they had just complied.
Same trick, different time.
Max, I think
That's all.
I think how you just described it, Max, we're going to use that. What we observed yesterday was perverted Christianity. That's what we're going to call it.
That was it.
Yeah. Well, we are
Instead
up
of
against.
blessed is the peacemaker, blessed is my peace.
Okay, Elliot, all right now.
People will listen to some
I
Medea.
think Elliot might have bars, y'all. Look, drop a beat.
If I can't get no peace, then I pull out my piece.
That's right. Hey, so we're against the hour, but Ellie and Charlotte, thank you all for always for joining us. I mean, are y'all gonna stick with us, or we catch you next time?
I think we have some other things to do, but catch us again, and thank you for
Gotcha.
having us on.
Thank you
All
for
right.
all
Thank
your
you.
great
Appreciate
work.
your time.